Have you ever seen a great idea? I mean, a really fantastic idea with a super talented team behind it just completely fizzle out? It feels chaotic, right? Like you're building something without a blueprint, and all that amazing energy and effort just goes nowhere. Well, today we're talking about that blueprint. We're looking at the framework that turns all that chaos into a successful product. Okay, let's get into it. This is the product development lifecycle. But before we get to the solution, we have to start with the big, kind of scary question. Why do so many new products fail? I mean, we've all seen them. Products that launch and you just hear crickets. Features that nobody ever touches. Projects that feel like they're going to go on forever. And it's usually not because of a lack of talent or effort. So what's really going on here? Well, the problem usually shows up as a set of really painful symptoms. You've got teams pulling all-nighters building features that, it turns out, nobody actually wants. Deadlines? Yeah, they start to feel more like suggestions. And the scope of the project just keeps growing and growing. Quality takes a nosedive, and you rack up all this technical debt that makes every future update a total nightmare. It's messy, it's inefficient, and honestly, it's way too common. The way out of this mess isn't to just work harder, it's to work smarter, and you do that with a proven framework. That framework is the Product Development Lifecycle, or PDLC for short. Think of it as a structured but still flexible roadmap that guides an idea all the way from a napkin sketch to a successful launch, and way beyond. This GPS metaphor is just perfect. Seriously, think about it. Your GPS doesn't just lock in a route and then ignore everything else, right? No way. It's constantly adapting in real time to traffic jams, to that wrong turn you just made, and that's exactly how a modern product lifecycle is supposed to work. It's not about having some rigid, unchangeable plan. It's about having a system that's always recalculating its route based on what you're learning from your users and the market. To really get what this means, let's do a quick comparison. The old way versus the modern way. The old waterfall method was kind of like building a house. You have to finish the entire foundation before you can even think about putting up the walls. It's very linear, and going back is really, really hard. The modern, agile way, it's all about cycles. You work in these short bursts, or sprints, where you build a little, learn a little, and then adapt. It's designed for the kind of uncertainty you always have with software, where you just don't have all the answers up front. Okay, so this brings us to phase one, and this is critical. Before anyone writes a single line of code, you have to answer the most important question of all. Are we even solving the right problem? This whole stage is all about ideation and validation. Validation is where you actually get out of the building and talk to real humans. You're not trying to sell them on your idea. You're trying to see if their problem is real and urgent. You show them super simple mock-ups, not some polished product. You do the math to see if the market's even big enough to bother. And based on all that evidence, you make the tough call. Do we go forward? Do we pivot to a new direction? Or do we kill this idea right here? This stage alone can save you months, sometimes even years of wasted time. And for a killer example of this, look no further than Dropbox. Before they had a fully working product, they just created a simple little explainer video showing what Dropbox would do. They posted it online, and their waitlist exploded from 5,000 people to 75,000 people. Overnight. Just like that. They proved people desperately wanted their solution before they went through the trouble of building the whole thing. That, my friends, is validation gold. Okay, so you've done the hard work. You've validated the problem. You know people are hungry for a solution. Now the question completely changes for phase two. Are we building the solution the right way? This is where we dive into prototyping, planning, and the actual development. At the very heart of this phase is a term you've probably heard a million times, the MVP, or minimum viable product. But let's be clear, an MVP isn't a buggy, half-finished product. It's the absolute simplest version that can solve that core problem for your first users. The big insight here is that an MVP isn't really a product, it's an experiment. The goal isn't to be perfect, it's to learn as much as possible with the least amount of effort. So, how in the world do you decide what actually goes into that first experiment? Well, a great tool for this is the Moscow framework. Let's say we're building a simple task app. Creating and completing tasks, those are must-haves. The app is totally useless without them. What about due dates? That's a should-have. Super valuable, but you could launch without it at first. And cool AI-powered suggestions? For now, that's a won't-have. This kind of ruthless prioritizing is the secret to actually getting your MVP launched quickly. All right, your MVP is built. Now it's the moment of truth. Welcome to phase 3, where we test and we launch. The big questions now are, did it actually work? And What's next? This is all about ensuring quality and finally getting your creation into the hands of real users. And quality isn't just something you check for at the very end. Smart teams use a strategy like the testing pyramid. See, the foundation is made up of tons of really fast automated unit tests that check tiny little pieces of code. Then you have fewer integration tests to see how those pieces work together. And only at the very top do you have a few slow, expensive end-to-end tests that act like a real user. This whole structure is way more efficient and catches bugs so much earlier. And just like testing, launching has gotten a lot smarter too. The old Big Bang launch, where you just flip a giant switch and release to everyone at once, it's incredibly risky. The modern approach is a phased rollout. You release to maybe 1% of your users, then 5%, then 20%, and you monitor for problems at every single step. This lets you find and fix things before they blow up and affect your entire user base. It's just so much safer. Okay, so knowing the phases is great, but avoiding the common traps, that's what really separates the successful teams from everyone else. So let's talk about a few of the most dangerous pitfalls you're going to face. Number 1, the single most common and by far the most expensive mistake you can make is skipping validation. It is the cardinal sin of product development. This is that classic if you build it, they will come fantasy, right? Teams fall in love with their own solution, and they just assume everyone else will too. So they spend months locked away building this beautiful thing in a vacuum, only to launch it and find out that nobody actually cares. Just remember, a few weeks of validation can literally save you months of wasted development. This second huge trap is perfectionism. Oh, this one is so tempting. It's that little voice in your head whispering, just one more feature, that keeps so many good products from ever seeing the light of day. Here is the absolute truth you need to remember about this. You will learn more in one single week with real users interacting with your product than you will in months of polishing it internally. Your first launch isn't about being perfect. It's about starting a conversation with your users. The mantra is so simple: launch, learn, and iterate. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important takeaway from all of this. If you remember only one thing today, please make it this: modern product development is a cycle. It is not a straight line.
That's right. The launch is not the finish line. It's the starting line. It's the moment when the real learning finally begins. Every piece of data, every customer support email, every bit of feedback you get after you launch is just fuel for the next cycle of improvement. It's a continuous, never-ending loop of building, measuring, and learning.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Whether you were the one building it or maybe you were just a user, what's one lesson you've personally learned from a product that was launched or improved, or maybe even one that failed spectacularly? Thinking about that is really the first step to putting all these ideas to work in the real world.